What's going on, people in YouTube land? Kimchi Chris here, and welcome to today's brand new video where we are going to take a look at two brand new tracks just released by Tommy Lee. And most average rock and roll fans know Tommy Lee as the drummer for Motley Crue. Makes sense, they're one of the biggest rock and roll bands in the world, but in the mid-90s, he skyrocketed to fame. He definitely became the most famous member of Motley Crue and one of the most famous characters in the entire hair metal and rock and roll scene, because he was the star of a critically acclaimed film that starred him and the, at the time, wife, Pamela Anderson, a film that was released without his permission and went on to be very successful and start a trend of releasing films without the permission of rock stars, with them doing certain things. You know what I'm talking about, I don't have to go into details, but nonetheless, he became a household name in a very weird way at that point. And since then, there have been multiple Motley Crue reunions, there's been the Methods of Mayhem, there's been solo records from Tommy Lee, he's been on reality TV shows, he puts stuff on TikTok now. Tommy Lee is a guy that's somewhat known for just being a guy. I am sure there are people out there that know the name Tommy Lee and don't know anything about his musical output, which kind of places him in the same category as Ozzy or Gene Simmons or Slash. People know that they're musicians, but a lot of times they know the names and they know their character more than they actually know the music. Now you might be saying to yourself, why are we talking about this? I thought this video was supposed to be about the new music that Tommy Lee put out, but this is all very important to the new music that Tommy Lee put out because he has released two songs that are pretty much hip-hop songs. And as a result, a lot of his dedicated fan base, they're not going to care about this music. They're not going to care about it, but they're also not going to give it a fair chance. But the point is, a lot of people know the Tommy Lee name without knowing the music, so they possibly won't really judge him in the same way that a hardcore Motley Crue or rock and roll fan would. But this is very, very related to these tracks because since the very beginning of Tommy Lee as a musician, I'm talking Motley Crue, he has been someone that likes trends. He likes to chase trends. He likes the newest things. Even in the early days of Motley Crue, yes, they were the trendsetters themselves, but at the end of the day, hair metal was a trend and he was on the forefront of it, and you can even trace that with the early Motley Crue records, Too Fast for Love versus Shout at the Devil versus Theater of Pain. The looks changed, the music changed, all of it changed as trends changed. Tommy Lee is okay changing with the times. You can even fast forward to the end of the 90s with the ill-fated Methods of Mayhem record, a rap rock record. Yeah, no one really liked it at the time, but the thing did reasonably well, so I guess somebody out there liked it, but I can't imagine it was the average Motley Crue fan. Well, you can fast forward a little past that to his solo record, the first solo record, I believe, that kind of sounded like a Nickelback, you know, kind of Red State Rock, that kind of stuff. Wasn't very good, but also did reasonably well. After that, he dove even further into the Nickelback hole with another solo record that even featured the guy from Nickelback on it, but it also featured a track with Butch Walker, so it wasn't all bad. And nonetheless, where this is kind of going full circle, and I'm not just kind of going down a road to nowhere, he changes with the times, and even though the average Tommy Lee fan doesn't really care about all this, they just want, you know, a drum solo played upside down in the middle of an arena with all these girls around him, somebody is caring about this, even if it's just Tommy Lee, and guess what? He's got enough money that he can just kind of put out what he wants to when he wants to. Now that doesn't mean I wouldn't like to see him put out a rock and roll record where he's kind of the drummer and has a lot of guest musicians around him and it's just amazing. That would be really cool, but nonetheless, it's just important to establish that since the beginning, Tommy Lee has followed trends, and this is really no different. But coming back to reality, let's talk about these songs. So the first one is called Tops, and it features a female rapper, Push Push. I don't know who she is. I didn't research her. I didn't really look anything up about her. I'm not the audience for this necessarily, and most of you watching this probably aren't the audience for it, but she seems competent as an MC. Nonetheless, most people are not really liking this track. If you look at the video here on YouTube, it has about double the dislikes versus likes at this point, so it's not doing so hot as far as people's reaction to it. But with that being said, I don't think it's the worst track in the world. Is it something I will listen to regularly? No, not at all. Not at all, really. I don't see myself going back to it. I listened to it a few times, or I watched the video, I guess I should say, a few times to make this video and have an opinion on it. But my opinion stands as it did the first time. It's fine for what it is. It seems like it's geared towards people using it on something like TikTok, which Tommy Lee loves, so that makes sense. But I'm just not a big fan of the track, but it is done well. The thing that's the weirdest to me is that this is called Tommy Lee featuring Push Push, but it's primarily her for the whole song. There's a vocal part where I guess it's Tommy screaming some stuff. I don't know, you just kind of see him in the video, but it's primarily focused on her. And you know, it's one of those things that I probably won't even remember really what it sounded like down the road, but if I was younger and into that specific style of hip hop, I'd probably like it a little bit more. The stuff I like with hip hop is a little more old school and traditional, and that's not what this is. It's a short song. I know that's a trend in hip hop these days with all these SoundCloud rappers, and it kind of gets to the point and gets out, but I don't know, it is what it is. It's just there. I just think it's really weird that it's considered a Tommy Lee track, and his involvement seems almost null and void. I guess he maybe played the drums on the track or did something with the production, I don't know, but he seems more like the featured artist. But I guess it's one of those things where it's like a DJ or an EDM artist when they have all these different singers that are gonna be on a record, and I guess that's how this record will be when we get it out there. But I'd be very curious to know what Tommy Lee did exactly. Another thing that's really funny about the music video, and it's the same with the next one that we'll talk about here in a second, is that the video is directed by Fred Durst. Yeah, that's right, Fred Durst. I guess Tommy's just continuing his friendship with Fred back with the Methods of Mayhem record, the Get Naked song that was actually somewhat of a hit at the time. Fred Durst was featured on that with Tommy Lee, so I guess those guys are still buddies. But as I said earlier, Tommy Lee released 2 new tracks, and the second one is called Knock Me Down. It features Kilvane, another rapper I don't know, but I know a little bit more about his style. He's one of those SoundCloud rappers that use a lot of metal imagery and kind of scream a little bit when doing some of their rapping, as well as just straightforward, you know, spitting as well. His style is really popular right now with some of the artists like Ghostmane and whatnot, and I know it's a really trendy thing, and this track is a little bit more in the wheelhouse of what you would expect from Tommy Lee if you're kind of going with his traditional music landscape, because there are guitars on it, there's a little bit of rock and roll production. This one also, in the general populace, seems to be faring a little bit better because its like to dislike ratio on YouTube is a little bit better. It actually has about 1/3 of its interactions being dislikes, which isn't too bad all things considered, so it's doing okay. And I have to say, I admittedly do like this one a little bit better. It definitely has some cringe moments, but nonetheless, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit more in the wheelhouse, but Tommy seems even less involved on this song. I really don't know what he does on this one. You kind of see flashes of his face in the music video, but vocally it doesn't really sound like he's there. I guess it's completely in the production, completely in the music, completely behind the scenes. I don't know what Tommy Lee's involvement is in this Tommy Lee track. I mean, maybe he wrote the lyrics. Maybe he wrote the lyrics because there's some lyrics about topless girls in there, and this is Tommy Lee. That's definitely in his wheelhouse, but this one, kind of like the other, seems like it's catered to the more TikTok audience, which means he's really going for that like 13-year-old fan base, which I don't know that they even know or care who Tommy Lee is, but nonetheless, that's really the demographic these songs seem like they're aiming for. And, you know, that's just kind of a weird thing when he's at his age, but, you know, he's always acted like a younger guy, so it shouldn't be too surprising. And the music video for this one, too, is fascinating in the fact that it's not fascinating because it's very obviously, you know, shot on the same set as the other one. Fred Durst is the director again, and I gotta give Fred Durst some credit. These are very well put together videos, just like the music, it's well put together, but it's just not something that I personally care about. And I have a hard time trying to figure out who will care about this because, again, the average Tommy Lee fan is the average Motley Crue fan, which makes them the average rock and roll fan, and they're not going to care about this. Now, I know that he's always trying to bring different people into his fandom, but I don't know that the average younger kid will care about this, but, you know, maybe that's why they kind of put Tommy Lee into the background. Again, they kind of know him as that character, they know him as that name, as that entity that they've heard their parents mention before and they've seen mentioned on TV or saw on a reality TV show or something like that. So maybe this is all very premeditated to have Tommy less involved in the Tommy Lee record. It'll be very interesting to see what the rest of this record has to offer. I'm honestly a little bit excited about it. I'll probably listen to all of it and not really care if it's, you know, focused more on these SoundCloud type rappers and things like that, but nonetheless, I'm a little excited to see what we get from Tommy. I just kind of hope that he definitely doesn't rap on any of the tracks himself, because I'm sure we all remember Methods of Mayhem, and he wasn't very good at that. He also wasn't the best singer on those solo records that kind of were butt rock, so I kind of just hope he produces and plays drums, because, you know, he's a good drummer. He's good at drumming. He should stick to what he knows. He's also good at making tapes and having them released without his permission, so maybe there's another one of those around the corner. But I'm sure the average Motley Crue fan is probably going to be more excited for the Mick Mars solo record if we ever get that. I hear it's bluesy, I hear John Crobby's involved, that sounds great. Even the average fan would probably care more about a new 6 AM record or even a solo Vince record if it sounded okay, but I don't know, these tracks are just kind of That's my review, that's my reaction to them. They're They're not made for me. They're probably not made for you if you're watching this, but they do exist. And you know, if you hear them and you don't like them, but someone in your life is someone who's younger and into hip hop, perhaps play them for them and see what they think of them. And they can probably give you a better take on these tracks than someone like myself or someone like yourself, more than likely. But maybe I'm completely wrong. Let me know what you thought of these tracks in the comments below. And if you are new to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the alarm so you get the updates. Give this video a thumbs up. And again, my name is Kimchi Chris. I will see you guys on the next video.